Welcome to the newest and greatest episode of Tusk Tradition. Fun, great weekend for the University of Alabama in general. One, great, always beating LSU. That's always fun. Awesome time. And hats off to the basketball team. Huge win against St. John's in Madison Square Garden. I mean, we got to talk about the Nate Oates hire. That's got to be one of the best hires in college basketball in the last 20 years. I mean, what a great hire to go ahead and get him. But before I get going on the basketball train, let's get back to the football, the main showdown that happened in Tuscaloosa over the weekend. I had the privilege and the honor to go to the game. My girlfriend went to the game. Electric atmosphere. It's always fun under the lights in Tuscaloosa. I mean, I remember going to these games 5-10 years ago, and there was no such thing as a light show and all this cool flashing stuff now that we have. And so that has upped the game day experience tenfold. So whoever invented that, kudos to you. Great job with that. It's so much more fun now, college football on a Saturday night. The game kind of went exactly like I thought it was going to go. Thought there'd be a little bit more points. I think in my prediction I had it in the 30s to 20s, but I thought Alabama would feel comfortable the whole game with how the game was going to end up and where it was going. I did think that maybe they would keep it a four-quarter game, which they did. But even at the game and feeling in doubt, it never felt like we were going to lose. I never was concerned with them making the big-time play to really kind of put us in the grave. So I never was worried about that. It never really came to happen. Shout out to the defense, played lights out. I mean, no touchdowns, really locking down. I mean, definition of bend but don't quite break. Great showing from them. D-line looked great. So nothing I can say much about defense. And complaint wise, they played great, even with the switching of quarterbacks. Nussmeier got benched, and I mentioned in my previous episode kind of predicting and previewing LSU that we might get to see Van Buren, and there we go. The intern coach at LSU, Frank Wilson, was talking about it a lot on his his pregame conferences, and so I just had a feeling if they were struggling with the football at all, we might see them. So that's why I dropped that little hint, mentioned it, and it came to be true. And it did look different when he got in there. I think the offense is a little more smoother. If you look at Nussmeier's stats, they weren't horrible. High completion rate, high success rates, but it was almost like the fear of taking a shot down the field held him back from making a big play. A lot of checkdowns, a lot of short intermediate passes, which is why we kind of saw a high completion rating for him. And so not the worst stats in the world, but I think it was the deeper factor, and definitely what they were seeing on the LSU sideline, of him not willing or wanting to take a shot down the field, especially when it was there. And I can kind of see the game changed when Van Buren came in and was able to execute some of those 10, 15, 20-yard deep ball passes. And so the game changed, I think, and swayed a little bit in LSU's favor. That meter went a little that way. But like I said at the beginning of this, I never felt like they were going to be able to pull this one off. But yeah, go back to just can we? I talked about the strengths of LSU didn't quite line up favorably for them versus what the weaknesses of Alabama's defense and strengths were, and that was very true and apparent in the game. I am a little surprised how successful they were able to run the football. I know a lot of it was aided on a big-time run they had, but they were able to have success with that. They kind of gave us a little bit of fits. And then on the other side of the football, I sound like a broken record, but we continued to not be able to run the football. And now, we're week 9, and there's only a few more tests. We have another really big one this week against Oklahoma, and you kind of get a tune-up game. I can pull a Nick Saban and say you don't want to overlook them like Georgia Southern. Y'all don't remember what they did to us, but a tune-up game. Then you go at Jordan-Hare, Auburn, and then postseason starts there. So there's not many copious or ample amount of opportunities to start running the football. And I saw this kind of sky cam, some noise on Twitter too of that. There's a few times in this game alone. I won't speak on the rest of them. I haven't looked at it, but from this game alone, there were a few plays where the O-line did a nice job of blocking up front, putting a hat on a hat, and creating a lane, whoever it might be. The one I can think off the top of my head was Jam Miller, but Kevin or whoever's back there, not hitting the holes, not hitting it properly, not finding where they need to go, making the proper running back reads. And so I did see a little bit of talk on Twitter that people are starting to throw the blame away from the O-line and more towards the running back's vision, the running back's ability to make a play. It's easy to take 1 or 2 or 3 plays and throw them on social media and then cast judgment and cast blame, but that is something to look at going forward. That might be something we need to start diving a little bit deeper into, because it could be true, and it could be something that the blame is misguided, misjudged. However, to make that point very mute, we need to be able to run the football regardless of it's how the O-line's blocking it or it's how the running back's vision is seeing the holes. It's something we've got to be able to do. I always say it. Every week I've been saying it. But if we want to be the team holding a trophy up, we have to be able to run the football for more than 59 yards, whatever it was this past week. It's got to just be something to keep the defense honest. It'd be great if we could sit back there with Ty and just throw dink and dunks and give what the defense has given us every single play. But without the ability to have a successful run game, it makes your offensive scheming that much harder to try to get an edge, try to create a bonus for your offense to take advantage of something, a weakness on the defense, without running the football. They don't have to stack the box. They can have one more, extra secondary defender to defend the pass. They don't have to bring in a linebacker. They can sub out a defensive lineman. So there's just a whole other avenue to this when we're not able to run the football. So that's something continued to got to get better. I was hoping after a bye week we could have just ironed it out a little bit, made it a little more straighter, but it didn't seem like that was very apparent or the case for this past weekend. So there's that, and I'm going to say it next week. I'll say it for the pregame video I'm going to make for Oklahoma. We have to win the football. But enough of that. Get more back to what happened on Saturday night. We look at the special teams from both teams. They missed a kick early, a nice chip shot. And the way I kind of view it in my head, when a team misses a kick or has a bad punt, it's how I view the turnover battle. This might be just a personal view, but let's say, when you have a fumble and you get it, you don't fumble the game or throw a pick, you win the turnover battle 1-0. You win the turnover battle. So when you miss a kick and you can execute all of your kicks or all your special teams, and you kind of won the special teams battle. There's no real stat for that. That's kind of how I view it. So when they miss the kick early, that's a 3-point swing that they don't get. And so later in the game, when we also miss a chip shot, it's almost like, okay, you fumbled, we fumbled. 1-1 on that turnover battle. In this case, for the argument, the scenario, it's 1-1 on missed kicks. 3-3. So you kind of lose the advantage of their special teams play. On the other side, we had some great kicks from Dowd. I haven't been able to say that much, and so whenever we get one, I want to shout it out. Had a great punt, able to pin LSU deep in a crucial moment late in that game, and that's something we got to celebrate when it comes around. So great kick by him to be able to really pin them down in there. So it wasn't all bad when it came to special team, but just the missing kicks, it's just very frustrating, especially when they're really makeable. I've said before on the show, I'm going to ask a 45 and in from you. I think that's something I'm going to ask that of a college kicker. NFL, let's expand it. NFL, 55, some of these guys are making 60. That should be, I know there's a lot going into kicking. That should be automatic. So 40, 45, I'm going to ask you to make it every single time. That's something I want to send you out there with great confidence. And just right now at Talty, whenever we're going out there for any kick, especially 30+, I don't feel amazing about it. So that's just something that, like the running game, it's going to come a point in the season where that's very crucial, and we're going to need to be able to execute that when it comes down to it. So there's the run game, there's special teams. Time to talk about the offense. Ty had another good night. I think it was about 277 yards, 1 touchdown. He did lose a fumble, but, can't really put all those on him. So another good night for him. I don't think he should lose any type of style points in the Heisman. We'll see what kind of voting and rankings he comes out with. But not an over-spectacular night. We had some miscues, had some missed shots. We had, right off the top of the head, we had a deep shot to Jeremy that we missed that really would have been a touchdown. Could have sealed the game. Kind of similar, not sealed the game, but similar to South Carolina where we had Jeremy kind of streaking. And it was either going to be a significant amount of yards or maybe even a touchdown with his playmaking ability. So those are just the small things. We were just off the fingertips, but it makes a big difference in games. In games that maybe you're going to start getting a little tighter. Still have, we have Oklahoma this week, a really good ranked team that I don't think enough people are talking about. We have to go travel to Auburn. That place has been insane for us to play at. And then you have postseason, so hopefully everything goes the way I want it to. We're playing the SEC Championship game against Texas A&M, Georgia, fill in the blank. where we're going to need those plays. That's going to be the difference between winning and losing. So just going back to the game, LSU, we didn't convert it. Thank the Lord. Thankful we didn't have to have that to win the game. But it was a missed shot kind of there in the late second half that we didn't get. But Ty overall had a good night, had a seed. He threw a perfect, you couldn't have asked for a better pass, Josh Cuevas, going down the sideline. So you see those kind of moments, you kind of in awe for a second at it. And so really, I want to appreciate Ty, everything that he's been able to do for this game and the season. So, I don't want to hate on him. Not an insane night, good night, great night, managed the offense really well. Something that, thinking about we've got away from doing is the Caden Proctor kind of stuff. We're still seeing him line up in funny scenarios. Like he lined up in slot on Saturday, and he was obviously a decoy, but it's really fun to watch him line up in slot. And when we play starts, him throw his hands up like he wants the football, and it's fun to see that, Ty will look him off, not going over there or that. But that is fun to see. I don't expect that any of that's going to go away. It's been some time before we actually, gave him the ball at South Carolina, but I think he'll get the ball again. I think a goal of this coaching staff for the season is probably going to get him a touchdown. The right moment's going to come up again, some form or fashion. So expect that to not go anywhere. Have a play drawn up. We'll see kind of what the play is. But I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And so that's kind of all the phases of the game. It felt comfortable. Offense executed. There's that first touchdown we scored was a grown man run by Kevin getting in the end zone. So, some more power back stuff would be nice from the help the other line out when it's not blocked perfectly. So that was great. Tide covered. If you're into that, I kind of thought we would. My prediction, I said we'd win by 10. I will say I did think more points would be scored, but I am happy to win the game regardless. It's always hard to win in the SEC. I think we just been spoiled the last 15 years, whatever you want to call it, with Saban back there. That we forget how hard it is to win the game. And what I think about is in 2014 we played Arkansas and we won the game 14-13, and we were just happy to win the game. It was a bad Arkansas team. It was at Arkansas. A lot of things didn't go our way, but we won the game. And it cut to Nick Saban, later that week or post game, whatever it was, and he was, getting upset with the media, like normal, saying that they were happy to win the game, and that the media thinks that we're Alabama, so we have to win every game by 40. But that he was happy to see the players be happy, the coaches win the game, because he understands what goes into it, how hard it is to win, and all the practices and the emotion that goes into a game. So that's kind of how I try to ground myself in that every week now with the SEC, especially the gauntlet we've had to go through. I'm happy to win the game. I said it in South Carolina that I was unhappy how the game went, but I'm happy to win the game. It's always easier to learn from your mistakes after a win than have to learn from your mistakes after a loss. So glad to win the game. Hopefully we can continue to win these games. They don't get easier. Oklahoma comes to town. We'll touch on that more. I saw a cool stat that is 100% true that we've never beaten Oklahoma in the regular season. Not many matchups, but still something we haven't done. So it is a chance to make history this weekend with that. So that's really cool. There'll be another video this week getting at it. I do want to touch on basketball real quick. I want the channel to kind of be multi-sports. It will definitely go more into basketball when football season ends, but do want to touch on it. Big win by Alabama basketball. Phylon and Aiden Holloway, that front court combo right there is insane. I watched the post-game conference of Rick Pitino, and he was kind of like, this is a measuring stick for us versus a really good team to kind of see where we're at. So whenever the other opposite head coach is giving your team some props and how well y'all play, it's always a good thing. So, big win by them. If we can score that many points every single game, we'll go 32-0. But things will happen. We'll play some really good defenses. Like Thursday night, we play number 1 Purdue at home, number 2 Purdue, whatever the rankings came out. 1 or 2 Purdue's coming to town. That'll be a fun matchup. That'll be fun to do that. Watch that game. Be a little post game video. Kind of probably included with Oklahoma a little bit. Kind of doing now, but big win by Tide basketball. You want to talk about buying stock. You need to buy stock in this team right now. It's gonna be a fun season. This team's got a lot of fun games coming up in non-conference, and then when SEC gets here, it'll be even more fun. The energy is going to be great in Coleman Coliseum. So a lot of good things going on in Tuscaloosa. But, yeah, look forward to another video this week. We're going to get going on on Oklahoma, and we'll touch a little bit on Purdue with basketball. But right now we're still in the heart of the football season, so that's kind of where the main focus is. But yeah, Oklahoma Bears coming up, and we'll get to talk about how we think we can fare this weekend versus them. But that's going to do it here today for Tusk Tradition, so roll tide.